Hi, welcome to Overthinking Entrepreneur. I'm Megan, and I've had a successful online business for a few years now, and I think I overthought probably about 90% of my decisions along the way. Honestly, I just overthought whether I should say 90% or pretty much every decision in this intro. So if you find that relatable, you are definitely in the right place. In this podcast, I will help you get out of overthinking and into action so that your online business can finally start growing. What is the difference between branding and value? I got this question from one of the people in my membership, and I thought it was such a great question, and I did answer for her. Don't worry, this was a few weeks ago at this point, and I instantly wrote it down. And I said, that is going to make a great podcast episode. And I had initially planned to record it that week, but then I had a few other things come up, and then I knew that I was probably going to be launching my branding program, so I figured, all right, I'll hold off and let the timing work out with that. But I have been sitting on this idea for weeks, and I've been so excited about it because I think it's such a great question, and the way that I explained it to her, she said it was a really big light bulb moment for her, and I shared it with the other members, and it helped a lot of them too, so I'm really excited to kind of dive into this deeper. So as I mentioned, I am getting ready to open the doors to my signature branding program. This is the big one. This is like if you only do one thing with me and you feel like you need to start from the beginning and everything needs work and like nothing is really getting you where you want it to, this is the foundation. And sometimes it sounds boring. I understand that. You're like, I want sales. I don't care about my brand. I'll work on that stuff later. I just need sales right now. I just need customers. I just need some money coming in. I don't have time to think about my brand. And I 100% understand where that's coming from. But trust me, this is the foundational work that everything else builds on. If you have a way that you're getting those sales and you want to keep focusing on that, awesome. But if what if you're trying is not working and you keep getting frustrated and saying, I just need to quickly bring in some customers and then I can focus on the long-term stuff, you're going to stay on that hamster wheel because finding those quick fixes to bring in customers, they rarely work, or if they do, they're quick fixes and it's not sustainable. And so this is the foundation that you really need to create that sustainable long-term business that continues to bring in customers, that isn't just exhausting and feeling like you're starting from scratch every month. And so doors are open right now, officially, and we will be starting next week on the 9th. I'm not going to talk about this too much. I know that you might be listening to this podcast episode way down the line, although this is a signature program that I try and run like twice-ish a year. So stay tuned. If you're happening to listen to this in the future, there's a good chance there'll be another round coming up within the next few months. So make sure you get in on my email list if you're not, so that you don't miss out on when that is happening. Okay. The difference between branding and value. So I think we should probably start by just defining what both of these topics mean, especially my particular definition, so that you know what it is that I'm referring to here. But the way I look at it is that value is part of your brand. So your brand is essentially what people think of when they think of you. So it can be the things that they know about you as a person. It can be your business. It can be the things that they are known for. Whatever comes to mind for them when they think of you. It's also going to be things like the way you position yourself within whatever it is that you do. So for example, there could be two different people that help women in menopause with weight loss, but they could have completely different approaches to it. So while on the surface they do the same thing, their actual brand is very different. And one of them might be all about building strength and building muscle and how important that is for everyone, but especially for women as we're aging. And their whole thing is get strong and let's focus on getting you strong and, kind of all the benefits that can come along with strength training. Wow, I can't talk. And then the other person helps that same group, but she is more food focused. And she's all about, let's help you clean up your diet and let's help you feel really excited about what it is that you're eating. And let's help you feel the best in your body with the foods that you're putting into it. You see how these two women both would help with similar things, but the way they do it is completely different. And that's where branding kind of comes into play, because your brand is who do you help, how do you help them, and the way you kind of position yourself within that. So even if we go a step deeper, we could say that first person who helps with strength training, maybe she really loves working with beginners, people who are just getting started on this journey. Maybe what she offers, her pricing is very affordable. It's very come on in, here's my affordable workbooks and here's my things that you can kind of grab and get started on your own. And then maybe there's someone else who really loves to work with people who are a little more advanced and a little more serious. And a lot of her work is higher priced and one-on-one. So I can do this all day, right? I'm not going to let sit here and make you listen to me keep doing this over and over and over again. But do you see the difference? So it's you, the person, what makes you unique, all of your life experiences, your personality, your values, the things that are important to you. And then it's also your business, who your business serves and how, and who specifically are you looking for with your business? And the more specific that you can get here, the better. And if you're that person like I was talking about just a little bit ago, where you are, I just need customers, I'm just trying to bring in some customers quickly and it doesn't seem to be working. A big part of the problem that tends to happen there is that you might be trying to go too broad. You might be thinking, well, I'm just going to talk about how I can be for anyone, because the more people that see me, the more potential customers I have, and then, I'll meet my goals and then I can get this stuff figured out. But when you're showing up and saying, hey, everyone, buy my thing, it's so great, it's for everyone, it's premium, but it's also affordable, but it's also, right, you're trying to appeal to all those different types of customers. And the customer who wants the premium product and the best quality is not necessarily the same customer who's shopping around based on price, who's not necessarily the same customer who's shopping around for, benefit XYZ. It's all different. And when you're trying to be for everyone, you're kind of for no one. So the more that you really hone in on who am I and who am I for, and get really specific with that, the sooner you will start attracting in the right people. There are other coaches out there that teach on similar topics to me that charge 10 times as much as I do. And they are going for a different client than me. They're looking for someone at the different stage of their journey. Hopefully, I could go on a whole rant. I won't get on my soapbox about people that target beginners but charge these high rates. I think that is gross. But anyway, it's all about just figuring out what works for you and what makes you unique from all the other people who do similar things that you do. And so when you're trying to be the same, and I get it, if what you're doing isn't working and what they're doing is, or at least seems like it is, we never really know what's working. We only see what they're telling us. But if we're looking at someone else and it seems like what they're doing is working and what we're doing is not, obviously it's very tempting to try and do what they're doing because it seems to be working and ours isn't. But what's really going to work for you long term is to figure out what sets you apart, what makes you unique and different, not trying to be like everyone else, trying to be you and find the right people who are going to want to work with you. So that is kind of in a nutshell what it means to think about your brand. What do people associate with you? What do people think of when you come to mind? And so again, this will be some personal things, some business related things, and then also some more kind of these intangible things like the values of your business and who you're targeting and, what do you consider a priority and what does your customer consider a priority? All of those kind of things really come together. And I have a whole 6-week program that helps you with your brand. So I can't, in 5 minutes, I can't give you absolutely everything that you need to know about branding, but hopefully that's given you enough to kind of help you get a clear picture of what I'm talking about here. Now, value, as I define it, is a specific thing that you offer within your business, especially within your content, that is designed to be helpful, typically free, so that you can use this to build an audience, to help attract that audience to you. So your brand is when people have already found you, what do they know about you? And then your value is within that brand, what's something that you can offer that makes people want to follow you. So essentially, it's for them. It's something that you're doing purely to try and help other people. And it's part of your brand. Like I said, there can be a lot of overlap here. And that's where I think sometimes it gets confusing. And the person who initially asked me this question, that's where she was getting kind of confused, is like, so for her, she has some dietary restrictions and has kind of had to change some of the ways that she eats. And she was like, okay, if I share about that, is that brand or is that value? And so the way that I tried to break it down and separate it for her is, if you are posting about your own allergies and restrictions and what life has been like overcoming them and how it's impacted you, or sharing that you like to bake, or saying, this is what I did for myself, this is what we're eating this week, this is what's for dinner, talking about these things as they pertain to you, that's branding. To make it value, what you would do is say, hey, anyone else who's just found that you might have some of the same allergies, here's my favorite recipe to make your own bread. Or here's the best store-bought bread in my opinion. Trust me, I've tried a lot of them. Or if you're just getting started, here's what I wish I had known. Here's some tips. Here's how to make this transition easier for you. Here's what I do to not prepare a separate meal for the rest of the family. So you see how the difference, when you're talking branding, it's about yourself. It's about letting people connect to you, the person behind the business, whether it's on a personal side or whether it's about your business, but it's about you and about people connecting to you. Value is about them. How can I take this topic and give them something that's going to be useful for them? So it's not just how can they get to know me, how can I give something to them that's going to be useful to them in some way? So that's really where the difference comes down to, in my opinion. And the lines get very blurred. Like, all value is a part of branding, like I said. So I don't want you to think that these need to be like completely separate topics or that the lines can't ever get blurry, because they absolutely can. And even within the same post, you can do branding and value. But I just wanted to share that as a way to kind of help you clarify for your own self what the difference is here. And I think the value piece is what a lot of people are missing. When I talk to people about the value that they offer, or, not everyone knows that term in the way that I use it. So even if I say, why should someone want to follow you? Why should someone want to connect with you on social media? A lot of times I get answers that are along the lines of, well, I'm authentic, I'm real, I'm just me, I'm not pushy, I'm not trying to sell them something. Those are all great. But none of those make me want to follow you as a complete stranger. None of those are valuable. None of those have anything that's in it for me. Those are all, in my opinion, like bare minimum baseline things that you should have, right? Being an authentic, real person who isn't going to aggressively try and sell me something shouldn't be like a standout, that's why I want to connect with you. It should be, that's the bare minimum that everyone I connect with should be meeting, right? So I think this is where a lot of people get stuck, is they say, I feel like I'm getting nowhere. I'm spinning my wheels. I'm showing up. I'm consistent. I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm getting nowhere. Like, my audience isn't growing. What's going on? And it's because they're missing that value piece. And the value piece is what grows your audience. If you're sharing about yourself and your family and what you had for dinner and about your own personal things that you have going on, that's all great. And those are all things that you should be doing. I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong by being authentic and sharing about yourself and your life. That's great. You should be doing that. But the problem is, no one cares about that unless they already care about you. There are millions of strangers on Facebook, all posting about their life and their pets and their kids and all of those things. I don't want to see it. It's not that I don't want to see, it's not that I, completely reject every single one of them. I'm just saying, I don't want a newsfeed full of family photos from complete strangers. If I don't know you, I don't care about your family photo. So you have to make sure that there's something in your social media presence, if this is the way that you want to grow your business by social media, that makes a stranger want to follow you. And if you don't have that yet, that's probably why things aren't growing the way that you want them to. So another thing, recipes, demos, things that involve your product are not value. This is another big sticking point. I feel like I have this conversation with people all the time. They're like, well, I sell tea, and so I do recipes with the tea. That's not helpful to me unless I have the tea that you're using in the recipe. So that is, again, great content. I'm not saying to stop doing that, but that's sales content. That's not value. That's not valuable to someone that doesn't own that tea that you're using in the recipe. So we need to really figure out, what am I offering where someone who does not know about me, does not care about me, does not know about my product, does not care about my product, that they would want to follow me? Is that there? So for me, this has been my videos giving free social media tips. Live video is my personal favorite. I have dabbled in Reels, and I'm too wordy. It's part of the reason why I wanted to start this podcast, was to have this space where I can talk as long or as short as I want to about different topics. I love that some of my episodes are 45 minutes and some are under 20, because it can just really fit the content and fit whatever it is that I'm talking about each particular week. And with Reels, I feel very restricted by them, but I have done this with some Reels. But giving videos, or doing videos, giving tips and giving trainings and giving things for free, so that when the right people come across me who are struggling to grow their online business, if they see one of my videos and they watch it, they might think, wow, this is really helpful. I want to follow this person. I want to see more. And that is how I've built my audience, video by video by video, over the years and years and years. Continuing to show up, continuing to give free value that is actually valuable to someone who has never met me before, that is purely just to be helpful for them. And what this does is it brings in people. They discover that they like learning from me. They continue following me. They want to share with their friends. And this is how I have built my audience. Now, you don't have to teach necessarily. There are multiple different ways that you can offer value. A lot of times people get hung up on the teaching aspect, and it does not need to be teaching. There's lots of ways that you can offer value, but you need to be offering something that is completely free, that someone who does not care about you would care about. And when I say someone, I don't mean everyone in the whole world. I mean your ideal client. The right fit person to work with you would find relevant. There are plenty of people, and I've talked about this a lot, even when I first started going live and giving my videos with tips, no one cared in the beginning. The only people who ever watched or interacted were my best friend and my Nana, my grandma. That was it. No one cared because in the beginning, I did not have an audience of people that had businesses. So the value was there, but it was not meeting the right audience. And I had to put in that work to find the right people and build the right audience of people that cared about the value that I was offering. So don't get hung up on that and think, well, what could I offer that people would find valuable? And especially don't get hung up on what would my current audience find valuable if you have not put in the work to build an audience of your ideal clients. If they're just, people you went to high school with and past coworkers and random people you met in vendor events or whatever, right? If you just have this network that is not targeted or intentional, which is not a bad thing. We all start there, for the record. That's where all of us start when we're first figuring all of this out. But what you don't want to do is try and ask those people what they want to see. You don't want to go to your audience that's not full of your ideal clients and say, hey, what value would you like me to offer you? Because you're not going to get helpful answers. This needs to come from you. This isn't really something you can crowdsource. Now, once you have your idea of what your value is, you can ask specific questions. You can ask, what struggles do you have within this area? What would you find helpful? Here's some of my ideas. Which one do you like more? But this has to come from you. You need to put in that hard work and sit down and really think about, who am I looking to target? What is my brand? Who is my ideal client? What is the value that I want to offer them that's actually going to help me bring in this audience? And if you're stuck on that stuff, that's where my branding program comes into play. That's where I arm you with the trainings and tons of support from me and the other people going through the program so that we can help you talk this out and really get this nailed down and figure it out once and for all. But that's the piece that I think is missing for a lot of people, is that they either haven't really learned about the brand in general and don't understand why all of this matters, and they're still trying to sell to anyone that will listen, or they believe that the value that they're offering is not being spammy. And that's just not enough these days. It was never enough, in my opinion. Some people got lucky that way, but I don't think they might have said that's what it was. Oh, I'm just me. I'm authentic. I'm not spammy. But it's really the way that they shared their life with their adorable family that people connected to. Or it's, I feel like most of the people who would have said that's what they think helped them have success, they just don't quite understand what actually helped them have success. And I'm not trying to insult them. It's just sometimes we're too close to our business and we don't see that outside perspective of what really made that work. So being a real person, not being spammy or aggressive, it's just not enough to build that audience to help you build the business that it is that you're looking for. So figure out that value, and remember, the things with your brand are related to you. The things with your value are related to your audience. So for me, I can talk about being an online business owner. I can talk about what it's been like for me to grow my business. I can talk about the ups and downs, the success I've had, the ways I've messed up, right? I can talk about my philosophy when it comes to business, why I price everything so much lower than it should be, who I'm. All of these things are related to my brand. But none of those things would make you want to follow me if you didn't already know me. If you came across my content and all you saw was someone talking about their business and how it's gone for them, you would say, yeah, that's great, whatever. I'm trying to build my business. The part that made you want to follow me is the value, the part where I'm taking my knowledge and my experience and packaging it up specifically to help you for free. So that's what we need to get figured out for you. Figuring out your brand is really important, and then figuring out that value so that we can start growing your audience, because the audience growth is where the real magic happens. If you are saying the same things to the same people that you've been saying for a year and wondering why it's not generating more sales, it's because you're saying the same things to the same people for a year. You need to be constantly getting in front of new people if you want a steady stream of new customers to be coming in. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of different ways that you can do this, but if you're wanting to do this for free, one of the best ways that you can do this is by really figuring out your brand and then really figuring out that value and getting it in front of the right people so that they start naturally wanting to follow you, and then they'll consume your value content, which builds that trust, which builds that relationship and gets them ready to buy all on its own. So you get to keep showing up and doing that value content, and it's drawing in more and more people, but it's also building and strengthening the relationship with the people that are already there. And then when you do talk about the things that you have to sell, you actually have people who care because you've put in that hard work to get them there. Okay, I hope you found this helpful. I hope that this has illuminated a little bit the difference between branding and value for you and why they are both really important and kind of where they fit into your business. And if this is something that you want help with, I hope that we will see you inside the program next week. I hope this episode inspires you to go take action on something you have been overthinking. As much as I wish you could, you cannot think your way to success, so promise me you're going to go take some action today. Head over to overthinkingentrepreneur.com to find all the cool stuff I've made for you over the years, like my free guide to getting more social media engagement and my Facebook group, Dynamite Entrepreneurs, which has a free course on social media basics.